Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming our guest of honor, the Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Hsien Loong.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister Hsien Loong, Your Excellency, Ambassador David Edelman, Chairs and Trustees of NUS, Yale, and Yale-NUS boards, Yale and NUS presidents, Yale-NUS College President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I am Rio.
And I am Amanda, and we will be your MCs for today's groundbreaking ceremony.
Mr. Prime Minister, it is an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking the time to grace this special event. Amanda and I are very excited to be admitted to Yale-NUS College, and we are looking forward to attending classes at our dream college next year.
Now, along with the faculty, some of whom are here with us today, my fellow students and I are looking forward to living and learning on a brand new campus, which will be home to the first liberal arts college in Singapore. Now, later on today, you'll be hearing more about the hopes and aspirations that we have for this unique new college in Singapore.
In many ways, today's groundbreaking is special, a milestone of many milestones to mark and commemorate the support and commitment of our many supporters.
Now, on that note, I would like to invite Yale-NUS President, Professor Pericles Lewis, to address us. President Lewis, please.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister Hsien Loong, Your Excellency, Ambassador David Edelman, NUS Chairman Wong Yit Leong, NUS Chair Madam Kay Kwok, NUS President Professor Tan Chorh Chuan, Yale President Professor Richard Levin, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today we break ground on the building for Yale-NUS College. As we do so, we are symbolically laying the foundation for a community of learning. I would like to share with you today our vision of what that community can become. Before I do so, I would like to express deep gratitude to Prime Minister Lee and the government of Singapore for their unwavering support of this exciting partnership between Yale and the National University of Singapore. The government's commitment to the ideal of a liberal arts education has allowed us to make excellent progress and will permit us to add a distinctive and important new element to the educational landscape in Singapore and in Asia. We are also honored to have with us Ambassador Edelman. The Yale-NUS partnership symbolizes not only a closer relationship between the East and the West more broadly, but specifically a close relationship between the peoples of the United States and of Singapore, and we are delighted to be contributing to that partnership here today. I'd also like to thank Rio and Amanda, our MCs, and the students and faculty and staff who are joining us today, and the more than 50 staff who were involved in putting together this wonderful program for us. I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the idea of a residential college and how our concept of a community of learning grows out of that history. The first residential colleges were constructed at Oxford in the 13th century for students at the university there. And I realized that Prime Minister Lee attended a different college, Trinity at Cambridge, which is also ancient but was founded only in the 16th century, not the 13th century. The father of English poetry, Geoffrey Chaucer, paints a famous picture of a student at Oxford around the time of the founding of those first colleges. He wore a threadbare cloak, he rode an emaciated horse, and he was rather underfed himself. So dedicated is the student to learning that when he gets some money from his friends, rather than spending it on a new horse or some new clothes or even on food for himself, he purchases books about Aristotle. And Chaucer concludes this unforgettable portrait of the Oxford student by saying, "Gladly would he learn and gladly teach." Well, we intend for our students to be reasonably well-fed and well-clothed. But the essential character of college life lies not in the attention we pay to the needs of the body, important though those are, but also the sense of a group of friends and classmates who learn together and who teach one another. This is what social scientists call the peer effect, and it is something that professors sometimes neglect to acknowledge, namely that in the right circumstances and in the right environment, students learn as much from their interactions with one another, whether that's in team sports, in clubs and societies, or just over tea and a snack in the afternoon or the evening, as they do from their formal coursework. And the model of a community of learning draws on this peer effect and on what students can learn from being in close proximity with each other and with their professors. This model in which living and learning are intertwined informs the traditions and values of our founding institutions. Yale College opened in 1701 with only 7 students, and for most of its history, the students lived on campus. The last remaining of the original college buildings is Connecticut Hall, right in the heart of Yale campus. Likewise, one of the original institutions that make up the National University of Singapore was Raffles College, which began at Bukit Timah in 1928 with just 43 students who lived in nearby hostels. And those beautiful Bukit Timah buildings are still there, housing the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and the law school. Now, around the time that Raffles College was founded, due to the great generosity of one of Yale's most memorable benefactors, Edward Harkness, Yale, which had grown substantially, was able to construct the first 8 of its beautiful residential colleges. The new colleges made possible a concept that we've come to call nested communities. Within the larger group of Yale undergraduates, each student has smaller peer groups in sort of narrowing circles. So they'll have the 400 or so members of the residential college that they're affiliated with throughout their 4 years at Yale. They'll have the smaller group of around 40 who are in their neighborhood at Yale, inside the residential college. And then they'll have the more intimate group of 4 to 8 suite mates who are their nearest neighbors. These nested communities give Yale students a strong sense of connection to their peers and connection to the college. Now, Yale copied the architecture of Oxford and Cambridge, somewhat shamelessly, but it also made 2 distinctive contributions to the idea of a residential college. The first was that Yale had been, since the 19th century, a leader in the development of extracurricular activities, or what we today call the co-curriculum. That is, the sports, clubs, societies, musical groups, and student publications that make up a lively civil society in parallel with the formal coursework taught by the professors. These are supplemented by other kinds of formal events outside the regular curriculum, such as master's teas, organized by faculty who live in the colleges with the students. Secondly, after some experiments with letting students choose their own college, Yale recognized the value of deliberately making each residential college a microcosm of Yale as a whole, containing a diversity of talents and backgrounds. Now, studies have found that there is a particularly strong learning experience available to students who share a community with people from a different background or from a different country. And this significantly improves the learning of a typical undergraduate. Friendships formed with people unlike oneself blossom later in life into a cosmopolitan attitude, which can be taught much more effectively through informal contacts than through formal lectures on tolerance. The National University of Singapore itself has been introducing a diversity of housing types and learning communities, notably in University Town, which is around us, and the University Scholars Program. And we're very happy that Yale-NUS College is going to be housed in one of the University Town residential colleges for the next couple of years while these beautiful buildings are going up. We are proud now to be creating a liberal arts college that will meld the traditions of Yale and of NUS, and that will become and house a community of learning. We are very fortunate to have 2 world-class architectural firms committed to creating a distinctive residential and educational space for this unique partnership. Forum architects represented by Mr. Tan Kok Hyang and Mr. Wong Chin Hwa, and Pelly Clark Pelly represented by Fred Clark and Mariko Matsuoko. The design of Yale-NUS College seeks to find an architecture which balances Eastern and Western contexts and traditions, but it has in truth created something new, something more than the sum of its parts. Courtyards punctuated by towers in lush landscapes, a close community of learning and social spaces, and a clear and inviting set of processional entrances match the openness, energy, and optimism of the curriculum that we are designing. And you'll see a video with some of these spaces featured in it shortly. Much like its educational mission, the architecture of Yale-NUS, while keenly aware of its antecedents, is strongly committed to the ideas and aspirations of this century, and in that way it is also a vision for the future. Thus, the campus itself will contribute powerfully to achieving the college's educational mission. The classrooms and laboratories are designed to foster active learning in the liberal arts and sciences. The melding of East and West reflects our global curriculum. The residential colleges, with their common rooms, dining halls, and sky gardens, encourage the ambitious linking of living and learning. Gladly will we learn, and gladly teach. I would like to close with a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi that I think captures our goal of bringing East and West together in a profound and powerful dialogue. Although he speaks metaphorically of his house, I think we can see Yale-NUS College as the kind of house that he describes. So when he was asked about the relevance of studying English literature for Indians, he encouraged his people to study both English and their native languages. He wrote, "I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the cultures of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. But I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. May the cultures of Asia, the West, and the entire world blow freely through the corridors and walkways of Yale-NUS College and into the minds of many generations of students. And may we send those students into the world standing proudly on their own feet." Thank you. Finally, I would like to once again thank Prime Minister Lee for gracing this occasion. Your presence here today, sir, is a great honor for us, and it makes the event particularly special. It's my special privilege to invite the Prime Minister to the podium to address us.
Mr. Wong Leong, Chairman of the NUS Board of Trustees, Madam Chorh, Chair of the Yale-NUS Governing Board, Professor Levin, President of Yale University, Professor Chuan, President of NUS, Professor Pericles Lewis, President of Yale-NUS College, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be back here to witness the groundbreaking for the Yale-NUS College complex. Last time I was here was for the groundbreaking of the university town. There was nothing except some grass and a machine to drill a hole in the ground. And today I'm back, and that hole has blossomed into many structures. And I hope what we start today will blossom into something equally beautiful and equally significant. For us in Singapore, education is one of our biggest priorities. You know the mantra, we are a small country, no natural resources, succeed only by maximizing our human potential. And good education is essential for that and for assuring ourselves of good jobs. But more than that, education is an important pillar of our social mobility and a means for our people to achieve their aspirations. We are doing our utmost to provide every Singaporean a good education. We've built a core of dedicated, capable, well-trained teachers, principals, lecturers, vice-chancellors, presidents. We've provided them the facilities, the resources, and the authority to do their job. We've tried to recognize the different talents and the interests of our students and created a progressive and pragmatic education system, one which fosters wider values of lifelong education and self-improvement. Generally, I think the education system has done well. Certainly, by international comparisons, we do well in the rankings. On PISA, Program for International Student Assessment, which is done by OECD, on TIMSS, which does trends in international mathematics and science study. And if you look at the top universities in the world, Singaporeans are significantly overrepresented, even though these universities have national quotas for admission. And often you see as many Singaporeans there as you will from countries 30, 40, 50 times our size. The WEF Global Competitiveness Report ranks our higher education system as second in the world. But it's not just the universities. Our polytechnics and ITE too, the Institute of Technical Education, are highly regarded. Last year, Polytechnic and ITE students won 5 gold medals at the World Skills Competition in London. And this year I see we are hosting the World Skills Competition here. And the graduates, whether ITE, poly, or university graduates, are highly sought after, and they get good jobs, and good jobs soon, which is quite a contrast to many other countries where graduates can be produced abundantly, but jobs, sadly, somewhat less so, leading to high youth unemployment and quite high graduate unemployment. Our system is not perfect. Parents and students are still stressed about tests and key examinations. Tuition has become a minor national obsession. But despite that, overall, I would say we're not doing too badly. But the demands on our education system are changing. It's a more complex and fast-moving world. In America, according to one estimate, 2/3 of students will, in their careers, go on to do work that has not yet been invented. This according to a New York Times article last year. Certainly, they will work for companies which nobody has dreamed up and which haven't started up yet. Technology is also revolutionizing the methods of instruction. If you go online, you get Coursera.org, you get KhanAcademy.org. MIT and Harvard is launching edX. The material is available, the means to convey it, impart it, assess it, and prove that you actually learned something, and you can refresh that information at your leisure and almost for free. And that's going to change the world. So students have not only just to absorb knowledge, but they have to learn to proactively seek, synthesize, and make sense of the information, and decide what information they need to look for in order to put the picture together. Therefore, we have to continue to improve our education system dramatically, continually, every year. We want to make every school a good school, especially the schools in our heartlands, so that every kid, whatever their background, whatever his parents' education, whichever school he goes to, can have his potential identified, built up, and transformed. We will strengthen our ITE and polytechnics so that students there also get a rigorous and well-rounded education, one which develops their interests and prepares them well for their careers and their future upgrading. And we will create multiple pathways of success, not just in academics, but also excellence in many other fields: arts, sports, dance, music, and so on. And we need, most of all, to nurture the students' character and values, and not just their knowledge and results. One important segment of this system is our universities. Every family in Singapore wants their child to get a degree. And if you look at the enrollment in our universities in the last generation, it's gone up 5, 6 times. In 1980, only 5% of students went to publicly funded universities. Today, 27% do. And soon, we will be 30% going to the publicly funded universities. And that is just NUS, NTU, SMU, UNISIM, or SIM. Some courses funded. And it doesn't even count all those who pursue their degrees overseas or in the private education sector. And if you add those in, about half our young people in their 20s have university degrees of one kind or another. But for as many as make it to university, still more aspire to such a university education. Therefore, we've expanded and diversified our university sector. We started with NUS, then NTU, And then we built SMU, the Management University, and then we looked for a fourth university, and we built SUTD, or we are building SUTD, University of Technology and Design. We encourage international partnerships in niche areas, like the Yong Siew To Conservatory of Music, here at NUS with the Peabody Institute of Johns Hopkins. We have the Duke NUS Graduate Medical School, and that's between NUS and Duke University in North Carolina. And we have the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine coming between NTU and Imperial College in London. But we will continue to enlarge our tertiary sector, not by doing more of the same, but by further diversifying the tertiary landscape to meet the students' wider interests and the society's changing and more diverse needs. NUS, NTU, and SMU each is different. Ditto SUTD, ditto SIT. Not quite a university yet, but headed in that direction. And we have Minister of State Lawrence Wong studying further new pathway to applied degrees, and we hope he'll come to some conclusion pretty soon. Yale-NUS College presents a new offering in this Singapore higher education landscape. It offers broad-based, multidisciplinary undergraduate curriculum, one which we hope will develop critical thinking, appreciation for complexity, communications, and leadership skills. One which will have an immersive residential college system, following the tradition of Yale, which is several hundred years old, Oxford, which is very, very old, and Cambridge, which is only a little bit younger. 800 years counting, to promote personal and intellectual growth. And a system which we hope will combine the best of East and West, that takes the best of US liberal arts education from Yale, New Haven, adds NUS's distinctive Asian and global strengths, and adapts this mix to our different social and cultural contexts, and creates an experience which is more relevant to students from Singapore and from Asia, or most of whom will be from Singapore and Asia. This Yale-NUS College will give high-caliber students from Singapore another option to pursue a degree at home instead of going overseas. And we hope it will also attract top students from the region. And some of these, after graduation, we hope will have had happy memories and seen good opportunities and will strike roots in Singapore. Some may not, but even if they go home or go somewhere else, they will form a valuable network of friends of Singapore in their home countries and around the world. And the rest of our university system will also benefit from Yale-NUS because there will be innovative pedagogies, there will be learning approaches which will spread, and many more students will benefit. And even if other parts of the system are slow to pick up, students will pass the word, there will be competitive pressure, and Facebook will do its magic. Right. That's the way things change in the world nowadays. We've seen it with the Duke NUS Graduate Medical School, who's only got a few students, but its novel teaching methods have catalyzed changes in the other medical schools, in the medical school in NUS and more broadly. This Yale-NUS College is a major venture for both sides. For Yale, it's the first new college to bear its name in 300 years. For Singapore, it's a new model of university education. Indeed, for Singaporeans too, it's a new kind of education exposure at university. Furthermore, it's one of its kind in the world. It's not a replica of Yale, but it's a bold effort to create something new and different. Therefore, it's not without risk. But we believe this is the right way forward, and the Singapore government is fully committed to the college's success, and I'm glad that Yale, especially under the president, Professor Levin, has also given and is continuing to give strong backing to the project. So I'm happy that Yale-NUS College has made such progress in a short time since the launch, a little over a year ago. It has a strong leadership team under Professor Pericles Lewis, and already the college has recruited over 30 faculty from around the world, and many high-quality applicants, including several Singaporeans who are turning down overseas places in order to study in Singapore. The college has attracted strong community support from companies offering internships, from foundations offering scholarships, or sponsoring academic chairs, and from donors who are giving generously. And I'm confident that we can continue to build on this strong start and create a new model of academic excellence which will redound to the credit and the pride of both Yale and Singapore. So I wish the college every success. Go forth and achieve great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. May we now invite the Prime Minister to officiate over the groundbreaking ceremony. We would also like to invite Madam Chorh, President Lewis, President Levin, and President Tan to join the Prime Minister for the interactive portion of our ceremony.
Prime Minister and our distinguished guest. We would now like to invite you to use the stylus in front of you to write a few words that, in your opinion, best describes the Yale-NUS College. The audience will be able to see the words on the screens behind you.
You may not be able to read it.
Thank you, Prime Minister and distinguished guest. We would now like to invite you to return to your seats. Now here on the screens we can see the words that the Prime Minister and our distinguished guest have written. From President Tan, East and West. From President Lewis, Community of Learning. From Prime Minister Lee, SG to Asia to world, and then back to Singapore. From Madam Chorh, Global Education. And last but not least, from President Levin, Liberal Arts, 21st Century. Thank you, Prime Minister and distinguished guests, for these words of inspiration. Now we will see these words on the screen soon.
What's fantastic about Yale-NUS campus, what Forum Architects and Pelly Clark Pelly have given us, is a campus which has got both quality teaching spaces and residential spaces, but also what I like the most, a whole set of loosely programmed spaces, atriums, dining halls. You get to talk to students in a way that you can't in the classroom. They feel freer to express a wider range of ideas because less is at risk when you're sitting at the dining table. And what happens then is that both the student and the faculty learn to talk about ideas in ways that are not possible in the classroom.
It's always great to unwind after a long day of work, and I think this performance hall is an amazing place to do so. Well, I hope to be a part of musical performances, speeches, even debates, because personally I have a passion for music, and I think it's great that the college is providing such a wonderful environment for students like me.
I remember, having absolutely fantastic tutorials when I was at Oxford in the summer, sitting out in the lawn. still going through all the material that we needed to cover, but in this very, very beautiful, serene setting. And I think that we're so responsive. Our thinking and our emotions are very responsive to the environments that we're in. And so I think that this can really enhance and you know, push the learning experience further.
If this is part of the residential college, then I suppose everyone within that building will be able to come here and have a meeting, come up with some crazy plan to invade the campus. The battle plans could be made up in here, in the student commons. Why not?
What the architectural team has done here again is something very innovative. What makes it innovative is again the sense of spaces which are in between, but which have been given a stage presence themselves. As a faculty member, I visit such spaces, I'm going to wish I were a student.
In your own room, it's just you, one person. You go out into your living room and your other 5 roommates with you, and then you go out to the Sky Garden and there's about, 36 people for 3 floors, so it's endless the amount of things you can talk about. Such a wide range of perspectives to have about, I don't know, any topic. So I'm really excited about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to invite the Prime Minister, Mr. Wong, Madam Chorh, and the presidents of Yale, NUS, and Yale-NUS to the front for a group photograph, please. Mr. Prime Minister, on behalf of Yale-NUS students, faculty and staff, and everyone here today, thank you for gracing today's occasion.